Hello, it's Luna Michaels, Esoteric Astrologer, and talking to you about the March astrological forecast for 2014. Okay, so much to talk about. I know it's not such a big deal, but people get a little upset about Mercury retrograde. Well, Mercury is now direct. Hooray. Today actually is March 2nd. Mercury went retrograde a few days ago, let's say February 28th, so that's good. But and sorry about my throat here. What we do want to look for, though, is Mercury passing the point at which it retrograded. So, a little astrology lesson. Mercury went retrograde at 3 degrees of Pisces, excuse me, retrograded back to 18 Aquarius. Now it goes forward in Aquarius, moves back into Pisces. When it hits 3 degrees of Pisces again, that's let's just say the 19th of March. So then it's in new territory, which is terrific. We also want to wait for Mercury to pass Neptune, which happens on the 20th, because it retrograded right near Neptune. Because Pisces, if Mercury's in Pisces, Neptune rules Pisces. So the whole sort of whoa part of this Mercury retrograde, which in one way is terrific because it helps you to have creativity, have lots of spiritual vision, but sometimes isn't as practical because Pisces and Neptune are more about the possibilities of things and the idea of it rather than doing the idea. Excuse me. So that will be on the 23rd of March that we move in this clear, much more clear energy, and things will be probably a lot easier to manifest. So again, that Mercury retrograde is when you're contemplating things and sorting out the old. And there's a real energy of moving forward. So, and that being said, there's so much to talk about with these retrograde and direct stuff. So it's like, bear with me. Next thing to talk about is Mars turned retrograde. And that was, let's say yesterday, the 1st of March. Mars went retrograde at 27 degrees of Libra. It will stay retrograde until the middle of May, and then it will pass by 27 degrees of Libra again in the middle of July. So there's sort of a pattern there, a timing pattern, which will then tie into Saturn in a bit. So, Mars retrograde. Any retrograde is about inner work with that planet. So Mars is especially looking at ways you're passive aggressive because Libra is not very direct. So ways you can work better with communication, especially in relationships, because Libra is about relationships. And this is a strange part of Libra too, is about enemies or people that, I don't know, I guess you'd say nowadays frenemies, people that are in your circle and you can't really express your full feelings. It could be a family issue or an in-law kind of thing, or a friend who's part of another group of friends, a co-worker, somewhere where it's not appropriate to be like, and you can't cut off with the person. You have to find a solution to expressing yourself clearly without being socially out of bounds. There's all this kind of complications a lot of times with Mars and Libra. So with it going retrograde, it's like, how do you maybe meditate first about your maybe pettiness about the situation or how your ego is being affected by it, so you can sort that out and then be able to excuse me, like dust in my throat or something. Then you can be able to, once you've got your ego piece out of it, be able to see, how does this work more streamlined, or how can I approach the person about a more harmonious way of interrelating. And it can be with with again, like a coworker kind of thing. You may need somebody also to help with that, to be able to come up with a solution. If it's a relationship partner, after we get past that March 23rd, when the Mercury is fully clear, it can be easier to present information that you've been meditating on about the passive aggressive thing, or about the getting your desires met and stuff like that Mars is about. So you can kind of come to a better resolution, a cooperative resolution. And again, being really clear about what maybe the situation, if someone's blocking your wants, it's kind of like, is this a need or a want? And maybe to see it's even a blessing that your want has been blocked that maybe that wasn't even that important, or maybe something higher comes out of it because you seek a new goal, and this one would have just kept you like at this level, but now you're seeking this other goal because you were blocked here. It's like, oh, this is better, so it's some blessing in disguise or something. Sorry about my throat. The other thing can be ways you sabotage yourself. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't finish about the relationships. There tends to be more a sense of camaraderie that can build about, okay, these ego pieces are out of the way. So how are we really helping each other as partners? So that can be the thing too. And of course we draw people in our lives to challenge us and help us grow and all that, which is all Mars and Libra's about. So also with ways you can sabotage yourself, like why don't you get your goals met? Especially around things like weight loss and body image things that Libra can represent, because Libra just wants to have all that comfort and Mars wants to do the thing. So it's like, go to the gym, and Libra, maybe not, or, draw a line about certain eating issues, and Libra's like, oh, but it tastes good. So the Mars and Libra can help you work that out and say, what's really the higher goal here? Is it just the immediate gratification of wanting that thing? Or is it the long-term goal? So the Mars retrograde can really help with that. It also is good when Mars is retrograde. It's not the greatest like sportsy type time, but more like cultivating inner chi, starting with Tai Chi. I love Qigong, which is even more simple form and basic ways energy moves in the body. Certain forms of yoga that aren't like, hot yoga or stress, kind of types of yoga, high-powered yoga, but gentle, inner nurturing yoga. All those kind of things, even walking and deep breathing and honoring the body's inner power of that sort, to heal itself, the healing power that comes from gentle movement, and because sometimes when you're exercising things like that, it's a stress to the body. So when Mars is retrograde, the less stressful things can actually bring more results. So, and maybe you want to do some research about that, even about how much weight loss you can have, or how much fitness you can have from the body being not under stress. There's a great book you might want to look at. It's called Body, Mind, Sport. And I can't pronounce the guy's name because it's a French name. It's like John, begins with a D, the last name is with a D. But it's a really interesting book about when your body is in fight or flight, when you can't breathe and you're running and struggling, that your body is actually in a stress mode. And you can teach yourself to, through starting slowly, to breathe gently and not have your body be in a stress response, and then build up the pace of the exercise so that your body can move fast, but your breathing stays calm, so you don't create a stress response in your body. That's just an interesting Mars retrograde kind of thing. Of course, when it's in Libra, we're always thinking, again, body stuff. It's also a wonderful time to do meditation and release about old relationships, because it's a new beginning of partnerships. And that could be romantic relationships or work relationships too. So any clearing you can do in that area, the better. Okay, Saturn retrograde. Saturn is turning retrograde, looks like today, March 2nd. Okay, what's interesting is when Saturn goes direct on July 20th is the same day that Mars will always already be direct from May, but Mars will pass that 27 degrees Libra, so it'll be covering new territory on July 20th. So the same day Mars moves into new territory, Saturn goes direct. So that's another measure of the work you will have done with opening to receive more, moving out the lower desires for higher desires. So that's going to be down the road, and we'll talk about that in July. But keeping that in mind, that Saturn is always trying to give you a big picture of growth. So Saturn retrograde in Scorpio, there can be things you might need to look at about money. Scorpio is about money and sex and taxes too, coming up on that time period. But again, kind of like that Saturn in Scorpio retrograde is like, how much do I give and how much do I get? And and that can be also with spiritual things, like, how come I don't have peace of mind or whatever? It's like, well, how much time are you devoting toward meditation and devoting toward nurturing your soul, nurturing your intuition, and things like that. It's like you don't get, like, kind of there's no free lunch sort of thing is the idea of Saturn and Scorpio, and especially when it's retrograde, like, how come I'm not getting that lunch, you know? How come I'm not getting those needs met on a deeper level? So, again, it can be about releasing resentments, because Scorpio is a lot about resentments, that are in partnership. Libra and Scorpio, you know, they're right next to each other, and they're a lot about Libra wants to be in relationship, and Scorpio, like, Libra's the desire to be in relationship, but Libra's almost more like, here's me and here's you. Boing. And then Scorpio is more about, there's me and you and then us. That this bigger energy, sorry, the one time I shut off my cell phone, it starts ringing. So there's this higher energy that Scorpio wants to merge with relationship, but it brings up all those fears of losing the self and trust and all that. So the Mars retrograding in Libra and the Saturn retrograding in Scorpio about moving out those fears of blending and bonding and connecting. And, you know, Libra says, yeah, I want relationship, but that has to move into, the next step is this fusing, where we become more than the sum of our parts. So both of these things are about that deeper link with others. And of course, the ultimate thing is the mind and the soul, you know, your lower self, so to speak, with that higher self blend, or you blending with God, and the fears of that, and maybe disappointments of that from the past, or why aren't I happy yet, or, you know, that sort of thing. And another piece with that Saturn retrograding, you know, is that sort of, God help me, I'm a punk rocker, but when I was living in Kansas, there was a lot of country music, and I remember Garth Brooks had a song about, it said, sometimes I thank God for unanswered prayers. And that's sort of a Saturn and Scorpio theme, because it's like, you know, I want blah, 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 and blah, blah. And it's like, well, those didn't get answered, and maybe that's for the best, that you were blocked from something lower, which is, again, part of that theme of that Mars retrograde. Why this is happening is because Scorpio has a connection with Mars. So, and Saturn is about that block, or about waiting. Like, do you really want that? And how much effort do you want to put into it? Is that really that important? So both of these retrogrades are talking about that. And like, maybe your relationship with God, instead of thinking the universe doesn't like me, it's like maybe the universe is helping you not get into other stuff that wasn't as good, you know. And in that Garth Brooks song, you know, he finds out he wanted this woman, and then he meets her later and is like, oh, thank God I don't have her. That didn't turn, you know, she didn't turn out the way I thought she did, and I would have been stuck with that. So also I have a friend, and this makes me think of, she says that God has 3 answers to prayer. Yes, not yet, or something better. And those, both the Mars retrograde and the Saturn in Scorpio, kind of are about that not yet or something better. You know, maybe the Mars retrograde is the not yet, and the Saturn retrograde is something better. Like, how can you let go of the disappointments, I never get what I want, I don't even want to ask the universe anymore. Instead of saying, like, maybe the universe is saying something better. I need to open my mind to see what's better for me. My soul's evolved, and this isn't going to be good enough anymore, so I need to seek up here that fits me, who I am now. So, okay. Hopefully you got that part. Sorry for the Garth Brooks reference, or anyone who doesn't like Garth Brooks. I apologize for insulting him. Okay. He's a fellow Aquarian, so I'm okay with that. Okay, now on to Jupiter direct. Yay. No, all these planets, you know, with the Saturn and the Mars going retrograde. But here's Jupiter direct. Jupiter moves direct on March 5th. It's going to be in Cancer, 10 degrees of Cancer. It went retrograde in November. I think it was the beginning of November. Yeah, it was like November 5th or 6th that went retrograde. And so Jupiter is about these plans and about the big picture. And what I do love is that even as other planets are going retrograde, Jupiter is always about, you know, there's a method in the madness that you can see. Like, the universe does have a plan, that there is some sort of wisdom going on here. And the fact that it's in Cancer is this feeling of being taken care of. So hopefully if you can see that the universe is trying to move you in a certain direction and blessing you all the time, you know, you can have this vision that the Jupiter direct gives. And so you get some things that are moving forward, and so anything that does feel held back, you know there's a reason for it, and you can kind of let go of that or look into it more. In general, though, Jupiter direct really helps with business things, family issues, sometimes health issues and stuff. So it kind of balances out that Mars retrograde. And it is about gentleness, though, still. The Jupiter being in Cancer isn't like Jupiter in Aries, blah. I mean, Jupiter in Cancer still is about nurturing. And everything you're doing, how are you nurturing yourself to be able to receive the good that's coming? And again, to feel a spiritual uplift. This can be a great time to look at different forms of spirituality that help you, again, see that maybe you need to expand your vision. And how can you see that the universe is benevolent? Because the universe is not benevolent from the perspective of your personality and your ego, which is like, I want what I want. You know, but the soul, just like that idea that you're being protected from things, like, you know, I mean, whatever, you know, I want to go to McDonald's and you can't for some reason, and then it turns out there was botulism in the hamburgers that day and everyone got sick, you know, great, you were protected. Like, and sometimes the stretches, you don't know that there could have been something that was going to happen. You were the only one who was going to get sick or something. And to trust that the universe always has your good in mind. Excuse me. And be part of this Jupiter. That the soul is always being blessed, even though the personality and ego see it doesn't get its way and the universe doesn't like me and God's picking on me, you know, why me? And the soul is always saying, well, there's a bigger plan. There's always a reason why that need isn't being fulfilled, or you're barking up the wrong tree, or again, something better. Yes, not yet, something better. And keep maybe that in mind and meditate on that. God, show me what something better is. Open my mind to something better. Make my mind capable of grasping that, because sometimes when you're in a thing, like I want that job, I want that relationship, or I want whatever, it seems like that's the thing to focus on. And you know, just a note to close, and sorry this has been a little long because I had so much to talk about with you guys, but I just had a friend was talking about The Secret, you know, and that is a beginning of development about setting your intentions and your desires, and the universe is going to fulfill those desires. But there's always that need to say this or something better, God, because your soul desires are always stronger than the personality desires. And the soul desire could have been planted a long time ago, in another lifetime even, that doesn't let you do this other thing that your personality wants. And when you let go of the personality desire and say, what is my soul really wanting? You see there really isn't any sort of block, that the soul is moving toward that goal. So that idea that you're always saying this or something better, because the soul may have always does have a much better picture, and sometimes our personality desires are not in alignment with the soul desires, and you have to surrender to, okay, what is the bigger picture? What is the soul trying to get? And this, you could be quite on a path to get the soul desire, but you're not even realizing you're on a path to something wonderful because you're focused over here. So being able to let go and say, yes, I'm planting desires. Yes, I'm moving forward. But God, if you have a bigger plan for me, I move into that. So that is how that Jupiter direct is moving in and mixing in with that Mars and Saturn retrograde. Again, thanks for hanging with me because it was long. Most of the Aries people probably shut me off by now. Sagittarians, they write me and say it was too long. Again, my website is alunamichaels.com. You can get a private session with me through contacting me through there, or through, you can call me, you can send me a little comment on YouTube. So hang in there and have fun and keep expanding and growing. You're so ready for all that and being set up so much for that. So enjoy your March, and I'll talk to you in April. Bye-bye.